Konnichiwa.
Howdy, y'all.
I am Leslie.
I am Lori. Welcome to
Sumo Kaboom, where we talk about all things sumo.
Yeah, and this week we are going to talk about Kitanofuji, who recently passed away, and you should know who he is. You've seen his face if you've been watching Japanese television, or rather if you've watched sumo via Japanese television, you will recognize him. You need to know who he is, who he was. And then I'm just going to do a whole lot of thank yous here at the end.
That's right.
Yeah, because we have a lot of people to thank. There's a lot of people that support us, and I just want to call you out individually.
That's right.
Yeah.
So let's get started with a news flash.
Sorry, I was just going to say, before we do that, we didn't announce our second place bingo winners.
Oh, yeah.
Should we do that first?
Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll do a news flash.
Okay. Congratulations to Alice and Daniel, who were drawn out of the mix and are our second place bingo winners. Daniel said he is going to use his gift certificate on Kiribayama merch because the boy needs a reset and he needs someone
He's
to cheer
also the one
for
who
him.
refuses to call him Kirishima, and I 100% agree. It's like
Yes.
he needs to go back to Kiribayama,
Yep.
and then maybe we will find his spirit again.
Yep. So congratulations to those two. Also, we sent a Fighting Spirit Award to Tine for a wonderful bingo card that was fully decorated with churros and guys' faces, and it was just so much fun. It was so much fun. And
We appreciate the arts. We appreciate
really
your
do.
artistic approach to bingoing.
Yes.
Like, we really do. We love it.
And Tina says, oh my gosh, I am going to train hard and give my best to deliver my own brand of sumo bingo in the next tournament. So congratulations, Tina, for that. And have fun spending your gift certificates, y'all. I'm amazed at how many people don't spend their gift certificates.
Yeah, if you got one burning a hole in your pocket,
I know,
spend
use it.
it. I
Use
mean,
it.
Robert at Big Sumo Fan is so generous to help us in this bingo game. So y'all do not sit on these gift cards. Go out there. It's the holiday season.
Yeah.
Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, celebrate something.
Yeah.
Give it away. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or late Diwali, anything. Or just spend it on yourself.
Yeah, get yourself a sumo towel and then rub ura all over your body every morning.
That's right.
Go for it.
All right. So now, are you ready for a news flash?
Yeah.
Well, I know where I'm going to try to be next October, and that is in London. And do you know why?
Jungyo!
We are having a UK sumo tour. So now I'd like to do a really bad accent.
All right.
As I tell you all about what we don't know, actually. Whenever I do British accents, I just said actually in there all the time. Like, actually. But I know it's so non-regional, but it's okay because most of our listeners probably are like, oh, that's pretty good. And then our British... What was that?
I have no idea what that was.
Perhaps that was all of the UK that was like, whoa, that is a really bad accent. Please stop.
Or it was an angel that got its wings.
Perhaps it was an angel that got its wings. As I was telling you all about the sumo tour that will be overseas, we really don't know actually anything. It's going to be revealed sometime in December, like maybe just December 4th, which is soon. They'll have a press conference, but this is the sumo has toured overseas 13 times to date. So the first time was in 65, and that went to the Soviet Union. Can you believe that? 73, it went to Beijing and Shanghai. 85, New York. This is the first time in 20 years since Las Vegas in 2005. So if I am free next October, I would really love to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Because
it would be amazing.
I mean, this is good times. My dream would be to do karaoke #1 with any guys in the ranks. After that, it would be having high tea with perhaps Ura, Tamawashi. High tea, yeah, he loves tiny, adorable, cute things.
Oh my gosh, how fun would that be?
High tea with Tamawashi would be my secondary dream. Okay, on to more news. The winter tour has some absences, and I'm going to tell you this only because it is maybe like, I don't know how to describe it other than this is the only time you're going to hear me say this diagnosis of an injury. We have winter tour absences, Kirishima, Takayasu. The reasons were made public. And the one thing you should know is that Takayasu has chronic back pain and right ankle sprain. Koto Shoho's out, Meisei's out, Hokutofuji with his right knee patella. He's had surgery for...
he got surgery?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad he
Or
finally got...
I think, or he's about to have it. It's for a bone dislocation. Bushozan, and then poor Tsurunoumi, who has an anal fistula.
Oh, they told people that?
Yes. And then I was like, oh my God, that's horrible that like they would just tell everybody in the whole world. That's a lot of struggle.
And here we are.
I've never said those two words in my life, but now I have. Wow. And I don't need to because I know that my phone's sitting close by and it will be listening. And then all my feed is going to be that.
Yeah, that's not a photo you want to see.
No.
Oh, that poor kid.
No wonder he can't wrestle well.
Oh my God.
I know.
And I think some things should be private.
Right.
In the sumo world, if you're an athlete, you don't need to tell people that.
They could just say butt problems. Down there issues or undisclosed, but that's what they said on the Japanese site. Now, maybe that means like maybe the translation was like he's got hemorrhoids or something like that. And then I'm like, okay, everybody has hemorrhoids at some point in their life. But to say that, I was like, no, the Japanese, that's too much. That's too much.
That's too much. Well,
I was like, I could keep this private, but no. I'm going to send it out to all of our listeners. You should all know that Tsurunoumi, you need to cheer extra hard for Tsurunoumi next time because we have not quite understood what's going on. And now we really understand.
Well, and
he's got him a washi up his butt.
That's what I was thinking.
That could not be helping.
I bet it happens to other men.
Oh,
because
100%.
That's an awful lot of rubbing going on up in there next to your asshole.
Right. If you're listening in mixed company,
sorry.
Apologies.
We'll put an explicit sign on this one.
Arsehole, if you're from the UK.
Oh my gosh. Let's call it an arsehole.
An arsehole.
Yeah.
Or a pirate.
My God.
An arsehole.
An arsehole. Extra holes in your arsehole.
Oh, no.
Moving
That's
on. What it is. That's what it is.
People are tuning out right now. Let's move on.
Sorry.
But you know who will be appearing in the winter tour?
Please tell me not someone with a fistula.
No. It is Kitanofuji. The YDC chairman is also, they've been chatty lately, and they've been putting less pressure on Kitanofuji to return because they have said quite publicly that they have hope for not one, but 2 promotions coming up very soon.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
And also Kitanofuji can just chill and not have the pressure. So he's going to do he's going to go get his, his belt tied in front of the audiences. He's going to do some shaking of the hands and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we won't have to worry about perhaps the pressure to get him back out there and to win every tournament being as ill as he's been with his diabetes. And our last tidbit of news, there's information about a farewell ceremony for the 52nd Yokozuna and NHK commentator Kitanofuji that will be held at the Hakaku stable on December 18th. His real name was Takazawa Katsuaki, and he passed away on the 12th of November. And so that ceremony will be held in Sumida Ward. He died at the age of 82, the great Kitanofuji. Kitanofuji. Okay, well, this week I took on a big assignment because, every week we take on basically a book report. And some weeks I'm like, oh, let this be a short book report. And then sometimes you just take one for the team and you just got to go deep. So the past 2-3 days, I have been cramming information about who Kitanofuji really was. And I am still going to give you such a truncated version, but in doing all this book report for you all and for myself, I learned about a really great figure in sumo history, and not anyone who's broken tons of records or anything like that. But you know how we love Ichi Yamamoto for his personality? Mm-hmm. This guy's also kind of that kind of guy. And he made it up to the top rank. you know, but he was a character and can continue to be a character his whole career. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kitanofuji, our 52nd Yokozuna.
And just so that I can place him in my brain, he's the guy that did sumo commentary that liked to wear the red leather jacket, right?
I didn't see that.
Super snazzy dresser.
I mean, there was so much to, yes, handsome guy, NHK commentator, good looking, kind of tanned.
Wore glasses.
Yeah, full head of hair. Just a handsome guy.
Tall, thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, flashy in a lot of ways like that. Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about him. He was 6'1", weighed about 300 pounds, which is light, actually, in comparison with today's wrestlers. He was born in 1942. He was born in Hokkaido. He made his professional debut all the way back in 1957, and he reached the Makuuchi division in 1964. So 7 years later, he was the sport's 52nd Yokozuna, a rank he attained in 1970. He won 10 tournament championships, and he was
10.
So that's like
Dai
Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he had a rival, Tamanoumi, who I'll tell you a little bit more about. As far as him, as his technique goes, he was big into thrusting. He had a mean left-hand grip, good at yorikiri, uwatanage, and sotogake as well. He wrestled till 1974 when he retired, and he wrestled for Dewanaumi, and then at one point he transferred to Kokonoe when his coach transferred. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But yeah, 10 championships in Makuuchi, 1 Juryo, 2 outstanding performance, 1 fighting spirit, 3 technique, and 1 gold star when he beat the late great Taiho. He had a record of 784 wins,
That's amazing.
426 losses, and 69 absences. After he retired in 1974, he became the head coach of Kokonoe from 1977 to 1992. And it should be noted, most people may not know this. He was the Oyakata who, as he said, probably by luck, somehow managed to raise up Kitanofuji and Hokutoumi, who is Hakuku, the current JSA chairman.
Right.
They were both Yokozuna at the same time, and this was their coach.
So Kitanofuji taught
Kitanofuji and Hakuku.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, but Hakuku had, well, I think his name was Hokutoumi or something like that.
Yeah.
I forget. I should know, but I always call him Hakuku. And he left the Japan Sumo Association in 1998. So he remained a prominent figure as a sumo commentator for many years. Also, side note, he also, at the same time, when he was wrestling, and afterwards, he had restaurants. He had cabaret clubs. He had record albums. He had very big time.
He's an entrepreneur.
He really is. He also got into lots of trouble. He did some real funny things. Like there was a case that I now need to look up where the sumo gun smuggling case.
Where would you smuggle a gun? Okay, maybe in crates of food or something?
No. Okay, so this this is at the end, but I'll just go back and tell you. Apparently, he was gifted from one of his fans a gun. Like a memento, like souvenir gun.
Okay.
Right? He was, and at the time, Japan, there's no guns in this country. It's illegal. So he was gifted this.
Oh.
And then he was so scared and freaked out by it, he gave it to his Oyakata. I'm guessing this is the story that was told.
Okay.
And then his Oyakata reported it to the JSA, but then it became this big legal case, I think, because he was in possession, gifted a gun. And it was considered smuggling.
Wow. Yeah, it's not something you can flush down the toilet, is it?
No, but what do?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, thanks for the gun, but that's illegal.
Yeah.
That's like being given like a kilo of heroin or something. And like, thanks for the memento.
Do with that?
Or the other side of the story is, we don't know.
Yeah.
And the more you get to know his character, you're like, well, maybe some of these things. No, not really, but... He was considered, when he was wrestling, he had this kind of lighthearted kind of approach to wrestling, as well as in his life and in his commentary. He was a funny personality. He doesn't mince words. That's what I've heard, although I don't speak Japanese, so I couldn't exactly find all of that. This is when he was dealing out the real stuff. But I did watch some clips where the commentator, he's sitting there with like a NHK typical commentator, and then he is the expert commentator. And the commentator asks him something, and he's like, wait, what? What'd you say? Like, he tuned out. He tuned out, and then he was like, I wasn't listening. Sorry, what?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, he just kind of was like,
very off the cuff.
He just does exactly. He's just who he is. And there was really no covering that up in a lot of ways. And he was kind of hilarious. And they would, of course, bring him back in. So you could say he was kind of flighty. But he always had a good pulse on who had the most potential, you know, who he liked, who he didn't like. In one of his last videos, he talked, although he seemed like a little bit ill in the video, this was July, he talked about Kotozakura and Hoshoryu and how much he liked them and their potential and how excited he was for Onosato. And also he was excited in July to see the Kitanofuji Hirada Umi bout. He was really excited about that matchup. And I was like, yeah. I found an article about other people who had kind of watched him, about him and his style. It was fast. It was ungrounded. It was...
Oh, like Kiribama?
Yeah. In a lot of ways, he was so fast. In fact, they had a name for it. He had a couple of nicknames, but he was well known for his fast attack. And if he got in there fast, it was a sure thing he was going to win. If he didn't, he was like Shodai, up too high and going backwards and always trying this Hataki Komi pull down, like retreating position, grabbing around the neck of the other guy and pulling him down. He was always known for that and always busted for that. Everyone was like, that's crappy. Don't do that. And he was like, well, it works sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
And his coach was like, you got to improve it. You got to improve your style. You can either get faster or be more grounded. And he was like, I'll choose faster. So he never really had that kind of heavy grounded, like at least when he was an Ozeki. He changed his style when he became a Yokozuna. More grounded, he was heavier. But he really was very skinny, lanky, and tall and deadly with his arms and his arm reach. So I kind of think, oh, this kind of is like an Abi in some ways. Abi's heavier now, but that kind of long arm.
Yeah.
But he had other tricks like Sotogake, which he used a lot. So imagine somebody who's got a lot of upper body, push, thrust, fast, lightning fast, but with a Hoshoryu Sotogake kind of approach.
Okay.
So they remember watching him and always kind of seeing somebody who had a lot of potential, but sometimes did himself in by not having the full package.
Okay.
He was notoriously also not really great at training. He was kind of not lazy, although some people might have called him lazy, but he wasn't quite as serious about training as some of the other guys were.
How did this guy raise up to Yokozuna?
Yeah. He just is one of these guys that he got what he wanted. He was quirky, you could say, you know, with boisterous personality and maybe a little eccentric, you know? And when you hear about his background, he was one of 7 kids. Okay, his father had failed businesses, which I think were restaurants. In fact, his father ran away from home 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Because he failed to provide for the family. And so Kitanofuji said about his father, he loved alcohol. He really, really loved alcohol.
That was the dad.
Yeah. And Kitanofuji also liked the alcohol too. He was just lived large, you know? He grew up playing sports, baseball mostly. He was really, really good. In fact, other high schools, when they had seen him coming up in junior high, he had a bunch of different offers to go into really good programs for baseball. But he had an injury that was going to need some time to heal on his elbow. And at the same time, there was a Jungyo, a sumo tour that came around. And the Yokozuna Chiyonoyama, he stopped by his father's restaurant. And he personally approached young Kitanofuji and said, why don't you try sumo and see Tokyo? And being that he was poor, his dad couldn't support the family, they thought, let's just put him in to sumo. And he never really forgot that offer, you know? It was a chance to perhaps get out. He also said about himself, as a young athlete, he was a really slow runner.
Hey,
and
me
so
too.
He took up sumo. In Wikipedia, it says that he was supported by the Chiyonoyama Supporters Association to reduce the number of mouths to feed when he left home. So he didn't even have enough money to buy shoes when he left home. Takazawa was his name. He got off, this is what Wikipedia says, he got off at the Ueno station wearing his school uniform and his sandals, and he had 3 bags of adzuki beans that his mother had given him in exchange for cash in case of an emergency.
So in other words, let me just see if I understand. So there's a foundation to support kids who come from absolutely nothing.
At least that back then there was. This was the Yokozuna's organization of supporters that said there's a young kid that needs to get to Tokyo, and I've seen the kid. He looks like he's got potential, and they just figured out how to get him there, and he had no money. He actually spilled the beans that his mother had given him.
Spilled the beans?
He did, and so he couldn't even... Like, he was just a mess. He spilled the zuki beans. Could you imagine? Like, your mom leaves you at the train station. Here's some beans because we don't have money.
Yeah.
Don't spill these because you could sell these.
Yeah.
If you needed to for an emergency. I mean, it's crazy. He also said he got seasick on the ferry.
Yeah.
And that caused him to lose a lot of weight. So he actually failed the new wrestler test before the tournament because he was underweight. And then he was able to advance to his first tournament through the self-funded training system, which I don't know what that was. I have to look that up. But it was implemented the tournament before. And so it took him a second or two to get into shape to be able to wrestle.
Yeah.
And he drank a lot of water just before the weigh-in and actually passed finally.
Yes, he was a little kid.
Yes.
Okay.
So he came in with the Shikona of Takazawa, which was his given name. He was known... Which
is a great name. I like Takazawa.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know why there's not one of those out there.
I know. Takazawa. He was nicknamed Koguruma, which is rice cart, or Yarika, which is a spear squid, because he was extremely thin. His promotion was delayed, and he was close to being forced to retire from sumo.
Spear squid.
Yeah.
I think we should call him Spear Squid forever.
Right? Spear squid?
Yeah.
It took him a really long time to get out of...
If you hear a cat in the background,
we got a cat who just really wants to be on the podcast this week. It took him a long time to get through Makushita. And in 1960, he was promoted to Sandame, finally.
Okay.
Okay, so this is one thing that's like really interesting to me, and I never want to hear about it, but this is the old role of sumo. When he was in Sandame, he was... During the summer tour, he had really been the victim of some very harsh training by senior wrestlers to the point of being beaten. He developed appendicitis and some other things, and he had reached his physical limit, and he was hospitalized for 50 days. 50. Wow. And because of this, one of his sponsors suggested that he change his Shikona to Kitanofuji and find a new way ahead. Instead of you should quit.
Just change your name. They won't beat you up so much.
No, just find a new spirit.
Find a new spirit.
Basically.
And change your name.
Yeah. And here's the deal breaker. The Oyakata de Wanaumi passed away. And then under the new Oyakata's tutelage, Kitanofuji finally blossomed. So it was actually his old Oyakata who allowed all the beatings, who was probably a friggin' horrible human being.
Jeez.
And the other guys to beat up on him, that only when the new guy rose up to the top and he had a new coach, that's when it started to click for him. Wow. He reached Juryo by 63.
I'm sorry, I'm just still stuck on 50 days.
That's probably
almost 2 full months in the hospital due to exhaustion or getting beaten so badly.
Appendicitis. I mean,
good Lord. And appendicitis. Ugh,
yeah.
Man.
So he reached Juryo in 63, and then 2 tournaments later he got 15 straight wins. So he was on fire at this point. He just needed to be...
so pissed.
Yeah.
He was like, fine, I will beat everyone else up around me.
Right. He debuted in Makuuchi in 64 with a 13-2 record.
Okay.
Not pretty bad for a debut. And from there, it was a quick rise to the top. He was in Sanyaku. He wasn't perfect. When his coach said, You need to improve your style. Like I said, it's either speed sumo or you fix that high waist of yours. And he continued to just be like, I'm going to be fast. I can't fix my high waist, which really makes me think, like Shodai's probably been told the same thing. And he's like, well, I'm going to choose to be tricky at the edge. Yeah, then I'm not going to fix my high waist. He was promoted to Ozeki in 66. And this is another crazy story about the guy. It was a surprise to him to become Ozeki. No one expected it. He had 28 wins, so he was far from the 33. At the time, they had kind of like they didn't have a lot of potential up top, so I think that's why it happened.
Oh, fast promotion because they needed an Ozeki?
Yeah. And in fact, his Tokuyama woke him up and was like, hey, buddy.
You're not going to believe this.
Exactly.
Kitanofuji, your name is incredible.
You are an Ozeki. And he's like, what? His Oyakata and Okami-san were out about running errands somewhere. They missed his promotion ceremony because he was like, dude, they're coming over.
Now?
Yeah. He didn't have tabby socks that he's supposed to wear. He did not have the uniform. Now, in his stable, he had Yokozuna Sadanoyama, who was his senior.
Yeah.
And he lent it to him. And
dude, I need some socks.
Dude,
I need some socks.
Yeah. And he was like, here, have my socks. And
I'll trade you some Adzuki beans for it.
Yes, exactly. And Yokozuna Sadanoyama actually stood in for the Okami-san and the Oyakata who were not there for his promotion ceremony.
Because they just had no idea it was coming?
They had no idea it was coming. And so, yeah, could you imagine? I mean, everything about this guy's just like a surprise.
Yeah.
You know?
Life on the edge.
Yeah.
Kitanofuji had a life on the edge.
Yeah. He did well, but he didn't... As an Ozeki, it took him a while to get up to Yokozuna. He had a lot of techniques, and he really seemed to, when I looked up kind of, he always seemed to gain kind of tools from watching other people, you know? Mm-hmm. When he became, I think the Yokozuna at his stable either retired, he became... I think the stable had a choice to split off, and he decided to follow instead of stay and be, and maybe it wasn't when the Yokozuna retired. I think, okay, his coach, I'm not exactly sure if I understand this, but his coach at the time, I'm not exactly sure why, but he decided to branch off and start Kokanoe. And that's the part I like.
Oh, that's okay.
That I don't
so much
miss.
Of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get confused.
Right.
And names are changing.
Right. But he had the choice to stay either in the same stable and practice with Sadanoyama as the number 2 in that stable, or to go out and go follow
the coach
and be top dog. And that's when, like, he was an Ozeki for 21 tournaments at that point. He just hovered. And
so what did he choose?
He chose to leave and go
with the coach.
Be at Kokanoe. Okay. Yeah. And he flourished under that.
I think it's interesting that with all these wrestlers, it's like once you join a stable, you're there for life. Unless
somebody your coach transfers, or somebody dies and they got to transfer and they got to break up, and then the wrestlers.
Yeah, but it all comes down to the coaches. So the people above you, if that shifts and changes, then there is a chance to go to another stable then.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that's your window. It's like health insurance here. You have this little window of time where if you need to change, you can.
Right. One of his mentors, I think, I'm not sure who it was, but he was very ill at the time. And when he was an Ozeki, he said, I believe you have what it takes. So
to be Yokozuna?
Yokozuna. And up to that point, like I said, he'd been an Ozeki for 21 tournaments.
Which is a long time.
Long time. Yeah. But it makes you think this guy may not move up. He's been a career Ozeki, which is great, but he's not going to move up. After that kind of moment where someone said, I've got belief in you. I believe in you. Yeah. He turned it on and he felt invigorated. He started practicing harder, and it was like surprising to everyone else. They were like, is this the Kitanofuji that we've always known? Because we know the other guy who doesn't really train very hard. And all of a sudden they were like, what has happened? When everybody else was not practicing, he was practicing. He turned on something within himself, and it turned around. He did well. He won a Yusho. Basically, he had what it took, the requirement to become a Yokozuna, but the YDC was still so uncertain about his skill level. Even when he had the results to become a Yokozuna, they were like, nope, we're going to wait one more tournament. And they waited another tournament, and then he, with another tournament of good results, recommended him for Yokozuna, along with another guy, Tamanoumi, who came up with him at the same time. So both of those guys had become Makauchi debut within one tournament, Ozeki within one tournament of each other, and they were same tournament promoted to Yokozuna.
Well, they were probably hesitant after promoting him early as Ozeki.
Right.
And then they thought, let's not make that mistake again.
Right.
Let's make sure he's ready.
Right. Now, as a Yokozuna, he did okay, but his best friend, essentially, like, they had cute little nicknames for himself. His co-Yokozuna, who came up at the same time, Tamanoshima or Tamanoumi, they were very close friends. Their records were practically tied, and they fought each other equally. They were rivals. But Kitanofuji was 2 years older, and Tamanoumi suddenly passed away from appendicitis at the age of 27.
Gosh, appendicitis is bringing everybody down.
Yeah. And he had been a Yokozuna for 10 tournaments, and now he was dead. So Kitanofuji wept openly, and this affected him in a great way. He continued to wrestle, but he was in poor form. He had lost his sumo spirit, and he struggled physically, bad blood pressure, blood pressure issues. He had absences, diagnosed with insomnia due to the pressure then from the YDC for his poor performance. He actually went to Hawaii on vacation when he was absent for one of the tournaments. So that didn't go over well. And they were like, you're supposed to be recovering, not in Hawaii. So once he came back from that slump, he came back and he dominated for like a tournament. He won it. And then he suffered a knee injury in 74, and that was the nail in the coffin. And he retired shortly thereafter. At his haircutting ceremony, he wore a white tuxedo.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, right? And he sang a song on his own for the crowd.
That's amazing.
He just marched to the beat of his own drum. And you could see that in his fashion choices on NHK.
Oh, yeah.
He just had a flair. And when he started his own stable, after that, he failed miserably. He didn't have any money. He didn't know how to handle a stable. He slept alongside the guys. They had like a prefab like stable. He didn't have the money to open up a real stable. And he would fish out of the river for river fish to make into tempura to feed the guys. He had nothing, but he kept pushing, you know? And I do think of kids that grow up poor. There is just no way, like there is a way to get through anything. There's no way to put them down. And I think when I researched him, I was like, God, this guy, you can't really stop him. You know, he just keeps going. Even if he doesn't know how, he just keeps going. After a while, he built his stable up to 20. And it started to bring in money. And then he merged with Izutsu, and wham, there you've got a strong house, including Kitanofuji and Hokuto-umi. And Kitanofuji said about his master, as far as his style, the sable master doesn't nag me much, but he does say something when it matters, which tickles my heart and makes me want to fight back. He knows how to motivate me. After that, he pretends not to notice. Kitanofuji would be handed down the stable from Kitanofuji. And after that, he was head of the referees. He was head of public relations. He was tour director. He was even in line for the JSA chairman position, but he took himself out of the running because he was going to be an NHK commentator, and he was. In his late 70s, early 80s, he had health issues, arrhythmia, and a fall that was devastating. And
Kitanofuji.
Yeah. He was buried with some of his favorite items, including a manuscript paper, a ballpoint pen, and a Japanese dictionary.
Meaning he was a writer?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that was just something that he always had with him or he wanted to have with him, but I don't know.
Wordsmith.
Yeah.
Of sorts. Was he married? What's his personal life?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look that. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, but I didn't look too much in it. It just said family, so. But he does say he drank a lot. He loved steaks. He had a personality bigger than the rest and unpredictable, funny, a real scrappy kind of fighter. And we like guys who who are those kind of guys in a sport that's quiet and calm, and everyone has hinkaku, which is grace and dignity. He was a little outside of that, and I think we all love him for it.
Did he pass away from heart problems? Is that what you said?
To me, it
causes?
was. I think it was undisclosed.
Oh, okay,
but
82.
82, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, that fall was kind of devastating. And the last video I saw of him, he kind of seemed like very weak. So it could be, I'm sure, a combination of factors and other things. It could have been cancer. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I just didn't look into that. I just was interested in who he was. But
what a long life. I mean, not many sumo wrestlers live that long.
Yeah, his aim was to be the oldest Yokozuna to die. But there was somebody at 83, and then there was another guy at 101. So he
101.
Clearly did not make that.
No, but good for him.
Good, solid try. Yeah. Good, solid effort.
Living into your 80s well, I think, is great. I wish that on everyone. Yeah, at least into your 80s. I just wanted to thank some people. We haven't done this in a little while, and there are just so many of you that do such wonderful things. I just want to call you out. First of all, many of you send us pictures and video and info from these tournaments when you get to go to Japan and see this live. We appreciate every single email, every single photo. I'm not even sure, Leslie, you've seen all of them. Did you see the entry, Takayasu's entry?
No.
Yeah, we got a wonderful video of Takayasu walking right in front.
I mean,
incredible video. We just love receiving that kind of stuff. It makes our day. So thank you, each and every one of you that does that. Big thank you. I mean, we got to start with the biggest, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Who lend us their closet every single week to record this in, but also this year did major double duty taking care of dogs and things like that when we went to Japan.
Yeah, we are animal lovers, so when we go someplace, it's a whole operation to take care of us.
Yeah, so they do a lot for us behind the scenes, and I just want to say thanks, Mom and Dad. Also, big huge thanks to Robert, a big sumo fan, for supporting our bingo game every single time. Amazing person to work with, very approachable, and we just appreciate working with you very much. When we were in Japan, major thanks to Kanishiki and to Angie.
Yes.
Both of whom have become, I think we can call them friends.
I think
now.
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I almost consider them an arm into the sumo world now. They've opened so many doors for us personally. They've treated us like queens.
Yeah, well, Konishiki was our very first big interview.
Yeah, he was.
And that was huge for us. That was like 3 years ago. So, yeah, we adore him and just were treated so kindly. Yeah. And he introduced us to, like we said, Angie, who is someone who has her finger on the pulse of sumo over there so many times, reaches out and listens to our podcast and is like, corrects us and gives us direction and like informs us, all this like behind the scenes stuff that we don't know. And she also was just an amazing like tour guide and like so fun to hang out with. So a lot of Japanese support on that side.
And a huge resource. I mean, I don't know anybody else where I can reach out and be like, is it Sukebito? Is it Sukebito? Is it Skibeto? Like, what is it? And then she'll send back the very long reply explaining what these things mean. And I just value that resource so much. So thank you, Angie. So many of you were part of our raffle this time. And I just want to say thank you for buying raffle tickets. It was really fun to do that raffle for you. And hopefully we will do that again in the future.
I'd love to do it every year at least.
You guys just bowled us over with your participation in the raffle. And if I called you each out by name, we would be here an hour later. Just thank you. But I do want to call out the people who support us monthly.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
we could not do this without your help. And so, thank you so much, Jessica, Andrew, Amy, MJ, Caroline, Rod, Dr. Quackenstein, who also sent us really wonderful bingo cards.
Yes.
And I just love your name. That's also, he's Chris, but I like Dr. Quackenstein too. Anna Fance, the one and only Mawashi Guru.
Yes.
Sarah, Joanna, Jen, Angela, Dr. KVC, Gil, Mai, Annie and Scott from Down Under, who again sent us really fantastic video and
they got themselves on
photos.
NHK with our shirt on.
I know. Oh, well, so did Mai.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Mine did too.
Oh, we just adore you. That makes our day. We hope that continues for all time.
It's like a Sumo Kaboom sighting there.
Yep. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Peter. Kimba Griffith, who makes us laugh so hard.
Yes.
All of her comments on sumo. And who, by the way, is a wonderful jazz singer. Did you know that?
I did not know.
I saw some video of her singing. So not only is she funny as hell,
I know. We
but she's
creep on
talented.
all of you to find out what your talents are. We do. We really do.
Well,
We're like,
and to know who you love.
Yeah.
And Kimba's had some great stuff online of her, like with Hoshoryu.
Yeah, like
and,
I was really in there as well.
yeah,
Like
super fun.
sponsor clubs, like goes to the parties, like, oh, so fun.
And a snazzy dresser to boot. So
Yes.
I love it. Thank you, Mary Pat. Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Laura, Keegan, Lauren, Carol, Skittlegriff, Dan, Reverend Lovejoy. Just thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Just a huge crowd of people that give us continuous support. And it honestly bowls me over. Whenever I see those roll in, it really does. It
Well, also,
hits.
like
It's
when we
lovely.
started doing this, we talked, like we would be doing our bingo thing and all of that mailing and shipping things just came directly out of our pockets because we just wanted to do it, right? And so all of these donations have helped us be able to afford more prizes, better prizes, things like the raffle, and then for maintenance of our website and all of those kinds of things that really help us stay afloat and not go broke doing the thing we love.
Yeah. Well, also to be able to mail things like those posters we brought back from Japan, to mail those to our monthly supporters. Like that was awesome. We would not have had the resources to do that without you.
Yeah, we'd have like
so thank you.
50 calendars sitting at home going, how are we going to give these away? So all of this helps immensely. And then to our one-time donors, like I'm not somebody who donates regularly, but just a one-time donation too is also so appreciated because we also know we see you, and more than anything, we know y'all are listening and that y'all care and you're part of our sumo fandom, and we love being sumo fans alongside you all. And so it's our connection to you as well. And we thank you for supporting us.
And some of you also reach out with ideas for future podcast episodes, and that is so appreciated. So don't stop doing that. We love it. Send those in as often as you like.
Curious questions they want to know about. And also people correct us and like give us, oh, you mentioned this, it's this. And they also happen to know the answer. So we love the communication, the poetry, the songs, all of those things that you all send are enormous and just bring a lot of joy to us, just to be like, what are these people sending us each day? It's delightful.
Speaking of, we did get one haiku.
Perfect.
This week. So why don't we finish with that? This one is from Adam Jones, right?
Yeah, Adam Jones. 2 Prime Ozeki. Face to face on the doyo. Premiere Sumo. I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
Yep. So keep those haikus coming. We absolutely adore them. Thank you for sharing them with us. Thank you for sharing your lives with us. Thank you for listening to us.
I know. Happy holidays. We will be back at you next week, and then we'll be going on a hiatus for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be back at you before the next Basho starts. So until then, we'll see you next week. I'm Leslie.
I'm Laurie. Bye.
Bye.